It's good to see you guys. I thought we had a good scrimmage. We had well over 100 plays. You know, the week was a good week. I think Tuesday and Thursday were both very intense and physical practices. You could feel the back and forth with offense and defense, and I think there's confidence and accountability that has grown on both sides. So it's good to see. I think we're able to carry some of that into today. I think anytime, especially when something's new, speaking for the offensive side of things, I think, the stage and the stadium, there was some of that maybe holding us back in the beginning. And I think as the scrimmage went on, we kind of found ourselves and played up to our standard. And defensively, just really proud of the accountability on that side of the ball, how fast we're playing, the intensity that we're playing. I think the ceiling's really high on that side of it. I think we can continue to get better. We got the leaders to do it. I'll take any questions you guys got.
Yeah, Dave, you just mentioned the defense. A lot of those guys are veterans. Does that play a part into it, that they're just confident in what they can do?
Yeah, I think we've got, yes, and then I think the scheme has been simplified. I think we know who we are, and so, you look at last year and the Zooms and just, not really kind of knowing who guys are and what's the best way to teach and how do they learn, and when adversity strikes, this is kind of what comes of it. And so having an idea of how all that is, how all that works, I think we're able to better connect. And then I think on the other side of it, not only are there veteran players, but they're football junkies. And so they're, when you're installing something or you put something in, they're already seeing, how this complements something else, or this is an answer to what we're seeing, or this is a changeup, or this is going to force teams to this. And so now, our base becomes that much more useful. And so I think when guys are taking it to that level, and there's a few that are that way, and then to be able to get on the field and talk that out now in the language that we're using, there's a high ceiling there.
Abram Smith was playing some running back, going back and forth. Can you kind of explain what y'all are doing there?
Yeah, we're looking for downhill runners. We're looking for that aggressive straight line path from the running backs, and I think Abrams had that experience in his past as a running back, and I think BYU has had when Grimes was there had a linebacker that transitioned into running back, and I think he ran for over 1,000 yards this past year, and so we're looking to find a guy that can be a physical downhill fall forward runner, and so I think Abrams challenging the guys that we got right now.
You have a week left, obviously, the spring game. Is there anything in particular you must accomplish these next few days?
I'd like to be able to play together as a team, and to have it where it's team, unit, me, and so that I think that when we're competing on both sides, that as a team we're getting better, and I think for the offense when we're having success, right. That whatever positions on that side is being elevated, but then also is really pushing the defense to get better, right? And I think the same thing with defense. When the defense is having success, right, that side of the ball, that positions or competitions are being elevated, but the other side of the ball is challenged and gets better. And so I think the more that we can do that and compete when it is when it matters most in tough situations. I think on Thursday with the weather, we were inside and we had the music blaring, so it was a bit of a hot box, and it was a bit of there's some chaos going in there. But I thought that's where we probably grew the most, something like that. And so creating those situations where we get better as a team, and how to handle adversity, and how to handle, this didn't turn out necessarily the way I wanted, and let's turn the page to the next play. I think we can grow there. And I'd like to be able to get that done this next week.
Dave, where do you see the quarterback competition right now?
I think it's good. I think that position in particular has really pushed each other, and I think guys are celebrating with each other. I know, Ebner talked about that a couple of weeks ago. That continues to happen. I think guys study with each other. I'm impressed in seeing it, and I think, just today, Zeno moved the ball. I think the drop back passing game comes really easy to him. I think Gary has throughout the week had some big play shots. I think that part of the game comes easy to him. I think Blake is able to, when stuff's not there, I think you saw it today, create stuff that comes easy to him. And so I think you're working from that skill set, kind of completing the picture. And I think all of those guys are all in. And then Sean does a great job. I think Sean's a great builder of a community. And, if a Kyron Drones maybe didn't get the amount of reps that maybe he wanted to because there's 3 other guys that are battling it out, Sean's able to lift him up and give him the looks that he needs. And so I feel really good about where that is.
With a younger quarterback and whoever does get the start, relatively inexperienced, does the rest of the team kind of get that sense that, hey, we have to maybe raise our play a little bit to kind of help them out, knowing that it's going to be kind of new for them?
They'll feel it, I think, throughout. When each guy is in there, there's a different feel. Just standing in the back, you can feel the quarterback and just you can feel the different guys that are in there. And when it's moving and when it's not, there's an energy that I think is real. And so if I'm feeling it, a couple yards back, I know the guys on the grass do. But then I think just even more than that, though, just the work in between, right? The work on their own, the work with the units, the work with whether it's film, whether it's studying, right? All of those things just to build togetherness and build a really strong unit. That goes a long way in getting the execution that we want on the field.
Apu was very active today. How do you feel he's come along, but also Drew and Grant Miller as well from the transfers?
Yeah. I think Apu's special. I think anytime, throughout this week, there's a lot of 5-man fronts that we put up to challenge the offense. And I think anytime you have those 5-man fronts, I would say very similar. West Virginia was a defense last year that would do this, where they would put 5 guys up, and the name's escaping me, but one of the twins was over the center. And so you had to choose, if you were to go 5-0 and 5 guys for 5, then that was a single block, right? If you wanted to slide it and they brought a guy that's on a back, now it's a free run on a running back if you slid it with 5 guys on the line. And so I think long story long, and being an odd defense, but having a guy that's just a mismatch and knows really is a huge favor. You saw some of that today when we're putting 5 guys on and we have a hard time, handling Apu. And, Apu is a great, has got a great heart, man. The guys have taken to him. We had our standard awards last night, and he shows up like straight out of Scarface or something. So it's just really cool to be around. Him. I missed him because Apu's always been like that, and I think the guys are taking to him. And then you saw about Grant and Drew. Yeah, so Drew has been pushing through. I think he's had some hamstring pulls that he's pushing through, and so we're kind of slowly getting him back. Expect for Saturday for him to be all the way through. He could have, I think, if we were in season, he would have played today, and so we're trying to manage him. And then Grant has been one of our stronger effort guys. I think his ability to process and his accountability in terms of what he's doing off the field and what he's bringing to practice, on a day-to-day, is very high. And so I know it means a lot to him. And he's challenging right now, so he's battling.
Dave, you mentioned, I think last week, that you want both lines to be dominating, kind of leading the way. Are you seeing that? Is it going in that direction?
Yeah, I think Apu helps. I think he has been a difference maker defensively, and I think there is an edge and an energy that he brings to that side of the ball. And I think so Thursday was probably our best day running the ball on offense. We really was able to move the ball up and down the field, and then really have that mentality that we're looking for on the offensive side of the ball, running the ball. And we're able to get to some of that, just today. I think you guys saw some of that in the second half of the scrimmage. And so, that is a continual build. I think the guys know the expectation. I think they know the standard, and they all know full well, what this league's about and what's coming. We talked about with the offensive staff that we get into Big 12 play, we're going to see 9-man fronts. We're going to see safeties at 8 to 10 yards. Right? We're going to see press corners. If you can run the ball, you're going to get the play-action pass game. But we have to be able to run the ball, and it all starts up front. And so I think all of that's understood, and we're working to what it's going to end up being.
Dave, you've seen plenty of spring games during your coaching career, but missed one last year, first as a head coach. Taking stuff from those other spring games, what do you want to do? What do you hope to do Saturday?
Want to be healthy. Want to be able to continue to play as a team, and so that we're building a real consensus of who we are, our identity, and how we take the field, how we handle a bad play, right? How we deal with the me versus me, whether it's on the sideline or in a series, or how we handle adversity. And so want to be able to see that. I think any time that you can turn the heat up and make it more intense, you'd like to do that. And so we'll find ways that we can do that. But then I think there's an opportunity to bring people together. And so whether it's former players or whether it's players' families, our current players' families, whether it's our coaching staff, I think, we had our standard awards. We had crawfish going last night. So there's a couple times I met for the first time, some of our coaches' family members, And so I think having this as an opportunity, if we go, work through it and stay safe, to be able to connect. I think the connection is going to help us in the long run.
Dave, the way you coach individual players have their own personalities, how much of that is what you're learning now? Like everybody needs to be coached differently.
Yeah, I think.
How hard is that?
No, I think that's one of the things I love about coaching. I think it's a huge piece. It's a good question. And that's something that you don't get off of Zooms, and it's something that you, because I think you are who you are when it's at the worst, when you're at your worst, right? I think I've always believed that. So like when it's the worst times and the incoming is nonstop, that's who you are, like how you handle all that, I feel. And so I think, when we're coaching and doing all this, and guys are sitting down, they're taking notes, and they're doing what we're asking them to do, that's one thing. When we're talking about the staying together as a team and fighting through whatever adversity we're creating or whatever adversity is right there in their face, that's when you get to know kind of where they're at. And I feel like to connect on that side of it, and to be the model of this is what it looks like, and to talk to them in an honest way to get them to grow and really attack and come alive in those situations where it's a positive, it changes your team. And so I feel like for our staff to work that way, and for our players to kind of understand we're coming that way, I think it's big.
Dave,
Take a couple more.
sorry. When y'all moved Matt Jones from Jack back inside, that kind of told me that you were really confident in the guys you have out there, an outside backer, and also you're confident enough in those inside guys that when y'all play those pace-up fronts with the two outside backers, that those two guys inside are going to hold up inside. Can you talk about the importance of, like you said, when you're playing those 5-man surfaces, those double eagle fronts, and of being able to hold up with those guys that you do have on the line of scrimmage, and then having some playmakers like Abram and eventually Terrell and then Dylan, who are right behind him to clean everything up.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with our D-line play. I think, Meatball's done a great job. I feel like the guys have been playing with hands. They've been playing with square bases. We're not crossing over. There was a fair amount of times last year when you would, defensively, if you just looked at numbers or maybe looked at the final score, you could argue that we played well or we played, somewhat consistent. But then you pop on the tape and it's hard to see where the gaps are, who has this, who has that. It just kind of looks like, carnage a little bit. And so things are just so much cleaner now. And you're talking about guys that are playing with hands and playing in a primary gap to a secondary gap and playing with extension and just, there was a time when teach tape was being used from other schools, and now we're using teach tape from Baylor. And that's a really good sign. It's a credit to all those guys, And so you look at Rob Solon as a guy that's really just has been making plays consistently and playing technique. And so I think we've got guys that where maybe they would go outside of that, go outside of whatever was being asked, and now they're kind of in between the lines playing with technique and making plays. And so we're really in a good spot there. But then I think, to your point, the more speed we can have on the field. So like Peso is really, it's a 2-4. And so you've got outside backers on either spot so they could rush or drop. And then you've got the two inside linebackers that could rush or drop. And so you're talking about creepers where it's 4-man rushes, right? And you have a bunch of flexibility. It's a 4-man odd front. And so you can, whether if it's a running game, you can attack the weak part of the run scheme. If it's a pass, right, in terms of their blocking scheme and pass protection, you can get a one-on-one, which you saw a couple of those in our two-minute deal. But I think for that Peso group to take the field, you're counting on those guys in the interior playing with technique, because what people are going to do, they're going to try to run the ball versus that look. And so it starts with technique.
Dave, what are you seeing from Aranda Johnson right now?
Yeah, he's emerging. I think, you go back to last year, and I hate doing it, but just seeing people struggle and just see the worst in some folks. And, you're able to see the good in some too, but for a lot of people, you kind of saw the worst. And I think to be in the spot now and just to see I don't know who guys really are and see the good in them, it's just really cool. And I think, I think there's a couple guys in the Rounders camp, but he's clearly one of the most improved guys. And so, there's a fair amount of guys that are in that spot right now, whether it's Taekwon, it's Connor Galvin, Micah Makuza, JC, and then I would put Aranda in that spot too. And so he made a big play today. He made a big play Thursday. I think there's an energy that he brings and an edge. I think, academically, he's got his stuff flipped around. I'm proud of him. There's a lot more that he can do, and I think he's just getting started.
From last week to this week,
Last one.
is there a position group in particular that you saw the most growth in between where they were this time last week?
Yeah, the O-line. I thought, I think Coach Mateo's done a great job of working to build a connection there. I go over in their stretch lines when they're stretching, not necessarily today, but on the Tuesday, Thursdays, and there's always just real unique things being discussed there. And so I think there's a great bond that's being built, and I feel like there's a great respect and a great care factor there. And so I think the level of effort is matching that level of care. And they too are just, I think we're going to be really good there. And so it's good to see the progress weekly.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.